Hey everyone, Mitch coming in for the Commander's Quarters temporary studio. Welcome to the show. So, on today's episode, we're going to be dropping Hamiltons, or maybe I should more specifically say a single Hamilton, because that's right, this deck is just $10. That's right, just $10 for a deck that can surprise and demolish your opponents. So with all that said, let's talk about the commander. So the commander for this Droppin' Hamilton's deck is Liesa, Shroud of Dusk, a 5/5 angel that costs 2 white, white, and a black, and says, rather than pay 2 for each previous time you've cast a spell from the commands on this game, pay 2 life that many times. Flying lifelink, whenever a player casts a spell, they lose 2 life. So this commander can get around commander tax in a very effective way. Essentially, you're paying life instead of paying the mana to recast this commander. Now, obviously, you still have to pay 5, but 5 for a 5/5 flying lifelink angel that punishes players for playing spells, yeah, that is a great price to have to keep paying instead of paying that commander tax again and again and again. And yes, this is going to drain you as well when you're casting spells, but of course, you can gain a lot of life with this commander. I mean, at the very least, when you hit something 5, and we've got plenty of ways to make that even more, whereas your opponents, well, are going to keep getting drained again and again and again. Of course, we've got some other ways to gain life as well. So this commander can very effectively and very efficiently take your opponents out while also padding your life total. And when we build this deck correctly, hit your opponents very, very hard. So, as we go through the cards on this deck, I'm going to take you through different tactics to show you how this deck works and how we're going to win with it. And of course, a quick reminder, if you are interested in this deck, make sure you check out that deck list link in the description below. Now, with all that said, let's jump into the cards. First up, there's Wayfarer's Bauble, of course. Pay 2, tap, sacrifice, get a basic land into play, tapped. Yeah, a fantastic way to start off our ramp package. Speaking of which, we're going to be running our Signet, our Talisman, and also Mind Stone, which we can sacrifice to draw a card. Next up, we're going to be running both of our Diamonds, which come into play tapped and tap for one of our 2 colors, and Everflowing Chalice, which we can kick multiple times, and it's going to basically tap for half the amount of mana that we put into it. So yeah, that's a very flexible, very fantastic mana rock. Up next, at 3 mana, we've got Commander Sphere, Orazca Relic, and Orzhov Locket, all of which can be sacrificed to draw us a card, or Orzhov Locket, more specifically, draw 2 cards, and Orazca Relic's actually going to gain us some life too, so that can be a nice way to get some of that life back that we were losing when we're casting spells. Also at 3 mana, we've got Unstable Obelisk, which we can sacrifice to destroy a permanent. Pristine Talisman, which we can tap for a colorless, and it's going to gain us a life, so again, another way to get our life total back up. And Paradise Bloom, speaking of which, enters battlefield, we choose a color. Whenever any player casts a spell that chosen color, we gain 1 life. So, if there's a predominant color at the table, pick that and gain a lot of life throughout the game, thanks to this. Also at 4 mana, we've got Sisay's Ring, Stonespeaker Crystal, and Hedron Archive, all of which can tap for 2. Also, Stonespeaker can be sacrificed to exile graveyards and draw a card, and Hedron Archive can be sacrificed to draw 2 cards. Finally, though, in an even bigger way, we've got Dreamstone Hedron, which can tap for 3 and pay 3 to tap and sacrifice to draw 3 cards. Now let's talk about some ways to make our commander more effective, hit even harder, and gain us even more life. Ring of Thune is a great one. It gives vigilance, so yeah, we can keep our commander back on defense as well, which is another great way to actually get more and more life by blocking. And of course, on top of that, at the beginning of our upkeep, we get a counter on our commander. Greatsword of Tyr, another great card to get more and more counters on our commander. Whenever it attacks, we get a counter on our commander, and we can tap up to 1 target creature defending player controls. Speaking of getting our commander through, though, Sky Blinder stat +1/0 can't be blocked by creatures with flying, so our commander is basically unblockable. I mean, only creatures with reach essentially could then block our commander. Moving on, Civic Saver is a very good low-to-the-ground equipment. Gonna give our commander +2/0, Hero's Heirloom +2/1, and also, because our commander is of course legendary, Trample plus Haste, both of which can be huge. Barb Battle Gear, speaking of huge, +4, -1, our commander is now going to be a 3-shot KO with just this equipped. And yeah, again, with all these equipment, the more and more equipment we get in our commander, the more effective our commander can easily become a 2-shot KO. Or how about Slayer's Plate, +4/+2, Bone Horde, which can be massive, +X/X, Rexy number of creature cards in all graveyards. So yeah, the longer the game goes, the more effective this becomes. Speaking of effective, Brass Knuckles. Cast it, copy it, so you get 2 of them. An equipped creature has double strike as long as you have 2 or more equipment attached to it. And yeah, that's a very low bar for us to meet. So our commander can very easily become a 2-shot KO, if not a 1-shot KO with this attached. Moving on, we've got some enchantments that can help us out as well, starting with Sentinel's Eyes, ++1, and Vigilance, and we can also keep getting this back thanks to Escape. Necrosynthesis. Whenever another creature dies, you get a counter on this creature, so our commander can become massive, and also when our commander dies, then we can look like the top X cards of our library, where X its power, one of those goes into our hand, the rest go on the bottom of our library, so we can get some actual card advantage out of our commander just dying. Nykthos Paragon. This can be ridiculous with our commander. Whenever we gain life, we can put that many counters on each creature we control. Do this only once each turn, so at the very least, it can be 5. And again, if our commander is pumped, that can be more and more. Now let's talk about some ways to protect our commander as well, starting with Rand Power Suit, +1/+1 for each Ord equipment attached to it, and Ward 2. So this can be a massive pump effect and a great way to protect it. Hyena Umbra, ++1 first strike, and most importantly, Totem Armor. So if enchanted creature be destroyed, instead remove all damage from it and destroy this aura. So yeah, it's a great one-off protection. Agent of the Shadow Thieves. Commander creatures you don't have whenever this creature attacks a player. If no opponent has more life than that player, you get a counter on this creature, gains Death Touch indestructible until end of turn. So as long as we're hitting the biggest opponent, we are making sure that our commander is protected in combat. It gets bigger, and Death Touch, always nice to have. We've also got some instants that can help us out as well. Armor of Shadows, +1/+0, indestructible until end of turn. Blacksmith Skill, Hexproof, indestructible, and then Make a Stand. Creatures you control get +1/+0 and indestructible until end of turn. So this protects our entire team. Speaking of which, there's Selfless Glyph Weaver. We can exile it and give creatures we control indestructible until end of turn, or we can cast the backside, Deadly Vanity. Choose a creature, Planeswalker, destroy all other creatures and Planeswalkers. So our commander is going to be fine. Everyone else's creatures are going to be wiped out. But we can also protect our commander with some protection with cards like God's Willing and Shelter. Protection with the color of your choice until end of turn and scry 1 for God's Willing. In Shelter, protection with the color of your choice until end of turn and draw a card. Next up, let's talk about some ways to gain a lot of life throughout the game. Spirit Link is a huge one. It's an ore that says whenever enchanted creature deals damage, you gain that much life. Now, that basically is the exact same thing as Lifelink in some ways, but this basically stacks with Lifelink as well, so we're going to be gaining basically twice as much life as the amount of damage our commander is dishing out. Pontiff of Blight, another great one. It's got Extort. It says other creatures you have Extort. So basically, hey, whenever you're casting a spell, you can pay a white or black mana. If you do, each opponent loses 1 life, and you gain that much life. So now when we're casting our spells, yes, our commander is going to be draining us, but we can gain more life than we lost. Our opponents won't be so lucky, and again, they're going to be losing more and more life with this. Now, as good as all these cards are, there is one, in my opinion, that stands above the rest, and that is the Golden Pig of this stack, which, of course, is the #1 card out of our 99. And the Golden Pig of this stack is Well of Lost Dreams, an artifact for 4 that says whenever you gain life, you may pay X Rexes less than or equal to the amount of life you gained. If you do, draw X cards. So this card can draw you an absurd amount of cards again. Let's just say you hit with your commander, and your commander has no auras, no equipment attached, just a 5/5. You hit someone, you're going to be gaining 5 life thanks to that lifelink. You can pay up to 5 mana to draw 5 cards, and 1 mana per card is an absurd rate. So yeah, this can draw us an absurd amount of cards throughout the game. Again, we're going to be gaining a lot of life, drawing a lot of cards. This is just incredibly efficient and effective, and that's why it's the Golden Pig. Next up, some other ways to draw some cards and dig dig deeper into our deck. Markov Purifier. At the beginning of your end step, if you gain life this turn, you may pay 2. If you do, draw a card. And yeah, we're basically going to be gaining life every single turn. Indulgent Tormentor. The opposite. At the beginning of your upkeep, draw a card unless target opponent sacrifices a creature or pays 3 life. So we can punish our opponents, and if they, don't accept the punishment, we get to draw cards. Sandstone Oracle, speaking of our opponents, enters the battlefield, choose an opponent. They've got more cards in hand than us. We draw cards equal to the difference, so this can be a massive ETB for us. Next up, our commander can help us out as well with Rogue's Gloves. Basically, whenever equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, we draw a card. Key of the City, tap, discard a card, make our commander unblockable, and also when this untaps, we can pay 2 to draw. And then Search the Premises says, whenever a creature attacks you or a planeswalker you control, investigate. So if our opponents are going to be attacking us, at the very least, we are going to get some clues out of it so that we can utilize those for some card draw. We also have some cards that are somewhat flexible, like Painful Essence and Blood Pact. Target player draws 2 cards and loses 2 life. Now, we can draw the cards ourselves if we need to, or these can be a great way to drain our opponents further, potentially even take them out with something like this. Or for ourselves to dig even deeper, we can play Ancient Craving and Ambition's Cost, both of which do the exact same thing. Draw 3, lose 3 life. And again, though we've got, ways to lose life with, casting these or casting basically any spells, we've got plenty of ways to gain a lot of life thanks to our fantastic commander. But we also have some removal spells that can gain us some life as well, with Sanctify and Invoke the Divine. Destroy an artifact or enchantment, and gain 3 life for Sanctify and 4 life for Invoke the Divine. Or for just some straight removal, we have Disenchant, destroy an artifact or enchantment, Seal of Cleansing, which is the exact same thing, but it's on an enchantment, and Valorous Stance, which is flexible. We can either give a creature indestructible until end of turn, or destroy a creature toughness 4 or greater. Then we can get rid of even more things with Return to Dust and Crush Contraband, both of which can basically get rid of artifacts and enchantments by exiling them. Cast out, speaking of exiling, an enchantment Flash enters the battlefield, exile target non-land permanent until this leaves, or we can cycle it away for a white. When it comes to mass removal, we've got Hex, destroy 6 target creatures, Phyrexian Rebirth, destroy all creatures and make a giant creature based on the number of creatures we destroyed, and Urza's Ruinous Blast, get rid of every non-land permanent by exiling them that aren't legendary, so our commander is going to stay. But now that we've talked about every single non-land card in this deck, let's quickly go through the lands. Command Tower can tap for either of our colors. Opal Palace, we can pay mana into it and give our commander counters based on the number of times it's been cast. And Ash Barrens, basic land cycling for 1. Up next, some simple fetch lands with Evolving Wilds and Timberwolf Expanse. Tap, sacrifice, get a basic and play tap. Mirror Landscape, a great way to ramp. And then we've got Radiant Fountain, which might only tap for 8 colors, but when it enters the battlefield, we gain 2 life. And Scoured Barrens enters the battlefield, tap, gains us 1 life, taps for either our colors. And Silvercool Campus, basically the same thing. Enters battlefield, tap, taps for 2 colors, and also pay 4 into it, tap, and scry 1. And then Temple of Silence and Snowfield Sinkhole both enter the battlefield, tap, again, tap for either of our colors. And Temple of Silence actually scries us 1. Orzhov Basilica is a great bounce land for us. And finally, we're going to round this deck out with some basics with Swamps and Plains. And like I mentioned at the start of this episode, we are dropping Hamiltons with this commander, specifically a single Hamilton, because again, this deck is $9.98, so 2 cents underneath that $10 mark. And actually, you might be able to potentially save even more than that by buying this deck on CCG Player and utilizing heavily played and damaged cards, which of course need a home too, though keep in mind this estimated cost does not include the cost of basics or the cost of shipping, which might vary depending upon where you live. And with that, today's episode is coming to an end, so yeah, let me know what your thoughts are on it in the comments below. And of course, as always, thanks again and have a good one. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. We also have a ton of brand new t-shirt designs in stock, so make sure you check out those as well. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG Player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all of their support.